Today's episode of the Punk Rock Horror Podcast is brought to you by Joy Organics. Hey ghouls and gals, Matt here from PRHP. Real quick, I wanted to talk to you about today's sponsor, Joy Organics. Now, when it comes to the subject of CBD, I'm still really amateur at it at best. I really don't know much about it, so much so that I probably am not a good source of advice. But you know who really is? Joy Organics. And what is so amazing about Joy Organics as a company is that they put customer service first and always. They are so kind and all their staff are so well educated on the subject of CBD. They helped out immensely. I mean, I was kind of blown away by it because I was definitely a skeptic about CBD. I didn't know much about it because of that, and I was just blown away with how well these products work. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to actually go shop in store only to get these products. Joy Organics has a website, joyorganics.com. And if you jump over there right now, you'll see all their products available, everything from tinctures to soft gels to salves, vape pens, energy drinks, even pet products. I know that's kind of ridiculous, right? I didn't even know that was a thing. And that's so cool that they have products for your pets. And it's awesome. And what I love about it is just that they take time and pride in their products. And they really do make a product that they're proud of, and they want to help people and not just sell a product. And I think that's why I love this company. And if you hop over right now to joyorganics.com and put in the code PRHP15, you will get 15% off products. And that's so cool, man, because I know that this is a huge new product and it's getting a lot of attention. And with a company like Joy Organics at the helm, you are at the right hands. All right, thank you again, everyone, and let's jump right into the horror.
It's 7 a.m. and you sit down to eat your breakfast before work. You check your social media for what's going on in the world around you, because no one reads newspapers anymore. There's a natural disaster, civil war in foreign nations, reverse colonization, and several other nations are on the brink of nuclear turmoil. You know, the normal things in life nowadays. Then you notice something awry. First you feel the rumble under your feet, as the vibrations from something afar become stronger with every second. You notice your coffee starts to ripple in your cup. You hear the small thumps in the distance getting louder. You look outside your window and see everyone in the neighborhood swarming the streets to look out into the distance towards the main city. You leave your house and look off in the same direction as everyone else and see it. A gigantic creature as tall as the Republic Plaza. It releases a thunderous roar as it topples building after building. Everyone starts to scream and panic and run away from the creature. But you stand there wondering, why is it here? Was it a science experiment gone wrong? Has it always been here and is now destroying us so we can atone for how we treat the earth and ourselves? Maybe all the reasons stated above. Today, we are talking about the history and significance of our favorite giant and terrifying kaijus here on the Punk Rock Horror Podcast.
Welcome back to the Punk Rock Horror Podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Cody.
And today we are here to remind you to continue supporting your local scene and indie creators.
Yep.
And also we're here to remind you that we're the only podcast in the world where the love of horror movie meets the love of punk rock culture.
Mm-hmm.
Totally did that in reverse.
Also, fun fact about the cold open. If you remember right, I referenced the Republic Plaza. The Republic Plaza is the tallest building in Denver, Colorado, clocking in at 714 feet high, 56 stories. Yeah. So that's how big the said creature in the cold open is. So that'll give you like some actual real world referencing to trying to figure out how tall kaijus are.
And one could say it's smaller than Corey Gardner's ego.
That's funny. Shots fired.
Although I do want to follow up with that real quick because it reminded me is that we so I was told recently that what's nice about it was actually one of the weirdest like compliments that we've gotten for our podcast, because normally the compliments we get is you that our podcast helps people like get through the hard times in their life, so it keeps them smiling, kind of stuff like that. That's usually what we get. Well, one comment I was given recently is that we kind of have a safe political platform, and so basically, me and you have done a really good job at hitting on both the right and left side well enough.
Yes!
That everyone could just kind of come
Yes.
here and understand that we don't hold a candle to either, really.
Good. That's what we go for.
So basically, to sum it all up, is that we're a great podcast for Trump supporters and anti-Trump supporters. We hate everyone equally.
Good. That's how I want it. I just want make everyone know we hate you all equally.
Just so you know, both Trump and Hillary can go fuck themselves. To be specific. When you come to the Punk Rock Horror Podcast, you're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. We do not care. We are accepting and tolerable of everybody's background.
Pretty much.
Except for Nazis. Always punch a Nazi.
Except Nazis.
Punch a Nazi.
Nazi should always be punched in the face.
All the time. Every single time.
Every single
It should be a law.
There should be no, yeah, but freedom of... Shut up, it's a Nazi. He gets punched in the face.
You should get a tax break
That's my free legal protest.
You should get a tax break for every Nazi you punch in the face.
Oh, I'd be so happy.
This is my 50th one this week.
Man, I'm going to get great on my taxes. I'm going to get a good return. At this rate, my taxes will pay off all my student loans with how many Nazis I'm bashing.
That's what we should do. We should run for a co-presidency, and our initiative be like Punch a Nazi Monday.
Yep. Every Monday. And we'll have high scores and everything.
we'll encourage small business owners to partner with community events.
Yep.
So
go to your local small business and get your Nazi bashing paraphernalia.
Show your bloody knuckles to get half off. Show a selfie with the Nazi that you punched in the face.
Oh man, you know what? Yeah.
I'd like to think that Nazis could even listen to us and be like,
"Oh,
that's funny."
Yeah, that's pretty funny. You know? Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what would happen if we had someone come up to us and be like, "Hey, I'm a Nazi and I love your podcast." I don't know. I would like to think that we would be.
I'll just take the reins on that one because I feel like you might actually start something bad.
I don't know I just don't know how to respond.
I know.
It'd be one of those moments where I just be like, okay. Cool.
Have a good day.
And then it'd be one of those situations where it gets even weirder because I guarantee you it would be a Nazi that's just like, yeah, and fuck the Westboro Baptist Church. And I'm like, shit, I agree with that statement. But I can't tell him I agree with that statement because then he's going to know I agree with that statement.
I know, it's one of those things where I can't find the middle ground because I can't agree with you, but I can't not agree with that statement.
Because then if I not agree with it...
And I'm the asshole.
But
if I do agree, I'm still an asshole because you're a Nazi.
And that's when and then all of a sudden my phone suddenly rings and I gotta go. It's like a real busy thing.
He's like, I can see your phone from here. It's literally just the lock page. No, I gotta go, man. Look, phone. Ha ha. And
then it's just like, I love black people, and then run.
Oh my god. That'd be so fucking funny.
That would be my response. Like, I love black people. Like, I'm totally just like, anytime you can, punch a Nazi. And I know in the situation, I wouldn't punch the Nazi. I'd just be like, I love black people, and then run off.
You emotionally punched him.
Yeah, take that.
No, see, that's when you go, my best friend's Jew.
That's true. Like, my best friend's Jewish, and your fucking face is still lasting.
You guys didn't get rid of all of them.
Second, and thank you for listening to the podcast. We appreciate your support.
And all our political cred just went down the toilet.
If we're going the route that we are going with this, that made it so people feel safe. If anything, that helped us.
Hopefully.
But
anyways,
on the far end of worst things, we can be accidentally accused as Nazi sympathizers. On the far end of best things, we're just funny. So, I mean, keep it in mind, I'm only half white, so...
That's true. So they would have just taken your legs.
They'd have taken the lower half and that's it. That's like, this part is ours. This belongs to us.
No, they keep the top half, keep your top half, so you can hold the machine gun on big old Klaus's back.
See, now we're making a good horror movie like premise. It was gonna. There's a dude who's like
you
half
know how
Hispanic.
Overlord should have been.
Yeah, how Overlord should have been. It's gonna be a dude who loses half his legs and then gets robot legs and like goes on a mission of vengeance to kill all Nazis.
And then he finally gets shot up enough and just goes Auf Wiedersehen and melts, just like in there, like Wolfenstein reference.
Oh, I got it.
Now we just need a big bulky white guy named BJ. Yeah,
BJ Kablastewitz.
Moving on from all this Nazi talk.
Speaking of things that we need to squash,
I do have an update. I made a mistake in the clown talk, saying that John Wayne Gacy. I feel super stupid about this, but I'm not a professional journalist, so I'm gonna make mistakes. And if that really offends you, you can suck my butthole. Anyways, I call John Wayne Gacy Bozo. But his name is Pogo. Yeah. So I made a mistake. That's a correction. Thank you, James. Always on my ass about making those corrections. I do appreciate it, but I am still going to give you shit about it.
I would also say credit to you. I would feel like the argument can be made that you're more of a like credible journalist by making your corrections. No?
I cite my sources. I will admit I read that article pretty fast, and I think they were talking about two different clowns, and I thought they were just talking about John Wayne Gacy.
I will say you are at least better than any Fox News or CNN journalist. So I mean,
I at least cite my sources.
You're doing better than they are. So.
Yeah, I mean that's not much of my fucking Audrey does better research than Fox News.
Shots fired!
But yeah, so thank you, James, for giving me that correction and moving on to...
You know what? I don't know why I make the meow sound when I have it on my phone and I can just easily...
Because it's a lot funner to do it manually without the actual noise.
Yeah, but it's obnoxious and I enjoy it. I mean, to be honest, I just enjoy that annoyance of it.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh my god! So this past weekend, I went to Shane and Casey's wedding.
Yeah.
And I was in it, and fucking, I swear to God, almost every hour on the hour, there's at least one person that went like in the entire wedding, and and I'm fairly certain I started it off. I can't remember, but I just remember at one point I was like, oh no, and then every hour someone would do it. And everyone hates us now.
I was adding it to your story. I was giving the sound effect to help you. So that way I don't have to roughly put it in during edit. So
fair enough.
That was just part of it.
And to all our listeners, I apologize. I'm going to be coughing a lot. I'm a little under the weather. So
he's sick.
Yeah, I'm sicky.
He's sick. Grind it. Sick, yo. Fam, keep it lit. Dab on dem haters.
I hate my life now. Anyway, so yeah, Matt, how was your weekend?
Good. Really not the most eventful in any way. I found out that although I am awful at the skill of beer pong, I figured out what I'm really good at.
The shit talking?
I am fantastic at it.
I know.
I went to another party the other night. It was a barbecue. It's kind of generous to call it a party, but it was a barbecue. Mm-hmm. And so, there was beer pong, and obviously, and the person I was playing against was actually really, really good at it. But I kept fucking this person up on the last cup because I was trash talking so good that I knew I had a talent. I suck at beer pong, but I'm great at trash talking.
Oh no, we didn't do too bad at beer pong. I did score most of our cups, but
we were on separate teams.
No, we weren't.
Yeah, no, we were.
We were on teams, and then we were on separate teams.
Oh, well, either way.
Because I kept wandering off.
Yeah, true.
Because it was my birthday,
yeah.
So I had to keep saying hi to everyone. Then you got, what was her name? Mikey on your team at one point.
Yeah.
And then
Sarah. And then I just I kept talking.
I think it was just Sarah at the end of that. Cause
my beer pong skills are so terrible that every time 2 to 3 times in a row I threw the ball and I hit a girl in the vagina. So
Yeah, that was such a good one though. It bounced. You were trying to bounce it, and then over bouncing, it literally landed straight in between her thighs, and she caught it. I was like, "What the shit?"
I didn't even try to do it. That's the weirdest fucking part.
That was so funny.
And she was just standing there, just really, and I'm like, you can move,
You don't have to keep standing in the same spot you've been taking balls.
Yeah. So, something tells me that you're enjoying this. I don't know why else you'd be standing there.
Are you feeling involved? Is that what it is?
Is this what's going on? You feel good right now about yourself?
Oh, man. Matt already has a problem with this girl, so he's gonna...
She can't take a goddamn joke.
I know she can't.
And I don't mean, a forcibly, toxic masculinity joke. I mean, she cannot take a goddamn joke.
No, she can't take your jokes.
Yeah, a joke. Because I am hilarious.
Yeah, to me, yes. I believe you're hilarious, but, not everyone likes a joke that talks about you cutting your eyes out.
Look, to be fair, she brought it on herself. She... And I told,
Lauren's listening to this, I've heard this fucking story so many times. Get on with it.
Yeah, I won't tell the story unless people want to hear it. It's a really fucking funny story. She did not see it coming, but it was hilarious as shit. She was so thrown off guard. Again, she tried making a joke that was 3 years old at that point.
I know.
And I'm just like, what are you doing?
What are you doing with it? She was homeschooled, so...
What are you doing? You're on public now. We got Facebook. Get caught up.
That's where she found it, too. It was on her Facebook.
Oh, that's only directed towards her. Anyone else says homeschooled, you're fine. I like you.
Oh, my God.
It's only towards her. She knows who she is.
Yes, you do. We're not going to say names. Anyway, so we have some listener participation, right?
Yeah, so today we are talking about the rich, fruitful history of kaiju and its effect on horror.
What was that?
Kaiju.
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 And giant monsters, because I'll go into it about what there isn't really a difference.
No, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
No reason to start explaining on it
cool
until
thing.
So, we asked all of you amazing ghouls and gals, creeping mutants, and cold, dead-hearted ones alike across the board that this weekend...
I think we need to make that a shirt. Instead of ghouls and gals, creeps and mutants.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I know we're working on a hoodie.
Because I know some girls are like, you know what? I don't like being a gal. Maybe I want to be a creep.
Maybe I want to be a mutant.
Maybe I want to be a mutant.
Maybe I want to be a creepy mutant.
See? We're already progressive thinking here.
We're trying our best. To be fair, you're listening to a show ran by two guys. We're open to female input.
I mean, we do have Aaron. That's why we have Aaron and Lala.
Yeah, we're not against it.
Yeah.
We
had Anna.
But
Anna had some good stuff. She still gives us some good stuff.
Yeah, she reaches out to us.
Yes, she does.
But we're open to female input. If you want some sort of shirt or hoodie that you would love, feel free to reach out to us. We'll make it happen.
I'm just imagining Lauren and Dev going, "We've been trying."
They have not.
No, I'm just saying. I can imagine.
They have not. I don't want to get... No, you get that shit out of the window right now. Anyway, so listener participation corner. This weekend we are talking about the rich history of the kaiju film genre, and we'll be discussing its influence on horror. So we want to know, what is your favorite kaiju movie and why? Also, extra points if it's a horror film too. Mm-hmm. So on our Twitter...
to interrupt real fast. I'm going to point out one thing. I think it's really funny when I see people like these things, but they don't actually comment on it. There's one person in particular. She does it every single time. I'm not going to name her.
We're gonna.
She gave us. We had that fun night at the hookah bar with her. We had the best high five ever.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're gonna.
She likes all of our stuff, but never comments on it.
Support is support, I suppose.
I know. I just think it's funny.
I mean, we'll take what we can get. Yeah. Truthfully. So on our Twitter from Crash Palace at Crash Palace, another person who comments a lot on our Twitter, by the way.
You go.
At Crash Palace said, Cloverfield is my favorite. However, Shin Godzilla is a close second. From Cinemondo Podcast at Cinemondo Pod, they replied with a GIF of King Kong. So I'm assuming they're talking about Gamera. and not King Kong. No, they were talking about King Kong.
Gamera's good too. I love Gamera films.
No, from Oh Heck at Anna Keeson, Cloverfield. Duh. Which, by the way, oh heck, guess what? You did. Cloverfield is one word, not two. Not Cloverfield. Come on.
God, so.
What is this? Amateur hour?
So. Shots fired there.
Coming
after you.
From our friends over at Conspiracy Theater Podcast at Con the Pod. The host is a great kaiju horror. Giant mutant fish monster goes on a rampage. Which, yeah. I mean, it's for the most part the premise of the film. But over on our Facebook.
So on our Facebook, we got two different spots that I got to look at. So when I shared the post, I got a message or a comment from Ryan. He said, I'm into Godzilla versus Mothra if we're talking specific, but the Toho Godzilla movies from back in the day are great generally. I agree. The American ones are all pretty much garbage. IMHO. I don't know what IMHO means. But, and then he also commented again, most of the crossovers are wonky too. Godzilla versus King Kong or the Jet Jaguar crossover. Yeah, those were... James, our lovely James, he commented Anaconda and Kong Skull Island. I went, no. Anaconda? No.
Yeah. Anaconda, I will argue this one. It doesn't count. It is a monster movie.
It's a creature feature.
But it's not a kaiju because it is not a giant monster that is dangerous on a world scale level.
Fair enough.
It's isolated to the Amazon only, so...
All right.
So, good try.
And then Denny commented the new King Kong with Jack Black. So not Skull Island, the one that remade the original tale. I'll agree. I liked that one a lot.
To be fair, that one's apparently scarred a lot of younger people. Just because of when they were on Skull Island, some of the creatures. I know one that really got
that fucking the worms.
Yeah, like
how it ate that dude
or whatever they are.
Yeah.
I guess they are worms, whatever.
That one messed me up.
Because you see the dude basically get his head ripped off. I mean, they don't show the whole thing, but come on, we all know.
He slowly got digested by millions of worms. That is a terrible way to go.
And that is the most peaceful way to go. There's no downside to that at all.
The slow digestion.
That is the ideal way that grandma wants to go.
And then Leonard, he actually had 3 comments. One was to fix up one. He said that South Park episode with Barbara Streisand was my favorite. Barbara Streisand.
That's the voice she did.
All I'm saying is I got to see the lead singer of The Cure fight Mecha Streisand, and it was the greatest thing in the world. And fucking, that's how I learned about Rochambeau.
Oh yeah, huh? We have Rochambeau for it.
And then he commented again, in all seriousness though, Cloverfield. Does Cloverfield count? Yes, it does. I'm going to answer that now. If it does, then that's my all-time favorite. He has a really good comment oh my god, just defending Cloverfield, and he has very good answer to that. He said people hated the shakiness of the camera, but whatever, man. Let's see them hold the camera when a giant monster is rampaging through the city.
To be fair.
Yeah. He loves the scene at the beginning with the Statue of Liberty's head. It gave him chills in theaters. Kind of gave these guys are fucked feeling. The tiny creatures and the way they explode their victims was intense. The final scene, though, yeah, just when they thought they were safe, bam, swiped out of the air by this front thing. Best kaiju movie of by this frog thing is what he meant. Best kaiju movie of my time. Pause it.
Sorry. Trying to get to it.
Hi. Yeah, and that's our listener participation corner.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Cloverfield got brought up a lot. I mean, what's so interesting about that movie is that it's like what we talked about with found footage, is that that movie tends to be a hot topic one. People either love it or hate it, basically. And I'm not surprised it got brought up. I still like it.
I liked it.
I mean, we did talk about a few of the issues with the camera being held.
Well,
and then,
yeah.
like, where was it like a really bad idea, and where I will still argue that As Above, So Below did it better for a found footage film.
I think so too.
Because I still, again, my
I
favorite
mean-
part is still her just quarterbacking just demons.
Yeah, I know. Fucking linebacker.
Yeah, just like, just bam!
Yeah, no, I mean, well, the thing also with Cloverfield, you gotta think about it, like, yeah, found footage films weren't super new, but that's when they started becoming super mainstream, so the, like, the system of how it works wasn't, like, 100% yet.
Right.
You know, they're still figuring out how to do found footage films good, in the right way.
Well, there is
Especially in America, I would say.
Well, there is a few that were mentioned in the horror kaiju genre that I'm sure I'm surprised weren't brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Rodan being one of the biggest ones, along with Gamera.
I actually have an entire list of kaiju films for those who want to see it.
Well, do you know what's
Different
also
ones.
you know what's two that I was really surprised.
Mm-hmm.
One that I was more surprised by, and the other one I wasn't too surprised by about being
Mm-hmm.
listed in this. Lake Placid for some
Yeah.
reason is considered like a horror kaiju film,
I know.
which is weird because it happens just in one lake.
So, okay, so this is when I was researching all of the kaiju stuff. This is why Lake Placid, Anaconda, like James said, even Jaws is considered kaiju films. It's because kaiju films or giant monsters are also considered to be creature features.
Yeah.
So all kaiju films are double, like they're two different genres. And so when you want to try and find, kaiju films or giant monster films, you're going to get these creature features loaded in with them, like Anaconda, Lake Placid.
Yeah, even the Mist
Primal.
was thrown in.
Yeah, well, the Mist does have actual giant creatures.
No, I know, but you don't really see them destroy anything. But
No.
what one is really good that's good to make a case for? Tremors.
Yeah, Tremors.
Yeah, because, I mean, that one does happen on a wide scale, like, area effect. One that was really funny, though, that did make me kind of giggle, was Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus.
Well, so when I was trying to find my movie and everything about this, like, it is actually really surprising about how little kaiju and giant monster films are actually popular in America.
Yeah.
Like, they don't make them here. Like, we rarely make them. The only ones that we really make is Godzilla.
Yeah,
or King
true,
Kong.
true.
Like, we have our main two.
And
just
one
like-
could argue Transformers.
Yeah, I would say Transformers. But but that's what I find super funny, especially with like how popular being a nerd is nowadays, and nerdom is like super popular and stuff. Fucking, what's one of the top 3 things in nerdom that I find really funny that are the biggest things, and one of them is never being touched on? Giant robots, superheroes, giant monsters.
Right.
Like, if you're a horror nerd, those are the 3 things you want to
Right.
see all the time, and yet we rarely see giant monster films. So,
Let's jump into it.
yeah, we're going to jump into it. We're going to jump into this history. And it's really cool. And this is one of the things that surprises me why giant monsters and kaiju films aren't as relevant, especially because of like what they're usually about. So, gonna just jump into the history of kaiju horror movies. Fun. I thought this blew my mind, and it really didn't dawn on me, but until I finally read it. But so this is arguably the first entry in this entire genre is actually King Kong, 1933.
Yeah.
Is considered to be the very first kaiju film. That's argued because King Kong actually predates Godzilla. Because Godzilla didn't come out until... Where is it? He predated Godzilla by... God damn it. 11 years, I believe. No. Where is it? Sorry, I just skipped a whole nother one. Godzilla came out in 1954. So I have this entire thing right here. I'm like, I don't need this, but fucking I was like, it was too lazy to delete it. Anyways, well, actually I needed part of it. Anyways, yeah, so King Kong is arguably the first kaiju film because it came out in 1933 and it was a huge phenomenon. Like, it was huge, especially in America, because King Kong came out in 1933. Then Mighty Joe Young came out in 1949. King Kong even had a sequel that was thrown together in 1933 called The Song of Kong, and both King Kong and Mighty Joe Young ended up getting remakes. King Kong got several remakes.
Right.
He got his original remake in 1976, which is the one that everyone usually knows about.
Yeah.
That's the main, like, one you'll see him fighting the gorillas, or the T-Rex and stuff like that.
Like, the claymation or
one.
not claymation, the stop-motion T-Rex fight.
Yeah, so that's where everyone normally gets from. And then, of course, the damsel, where he's, like, swiping at one biplane, and he's holding a lady, like, no! And she's like, oh, don't shoot the gorilla. Don't kill the giant gorilla. I don't know where we're going to put it. Don't kill it. Like,
if only there, since it's like set way back then, if only there was a way I could freeze my eggs and get them artificially inseminated
by a giant gorilla. Oh no!
Here on the Punk Rock Horror Podcast, we're the only podcast that will talk about giant monsters inseminating women. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
and
we're pretty. I don't know how much lowbrow we can get.
Yeah, and then.
And yet, I continually am surprised.
Yeah, this is my son, little Timmy. I know, 10 feet, and he's only a month old.
Come here,
How
Timmy.
did you push that out? Oh, don't worry.
Calm down, Timmy. Calm down. If you calm down, I'll give you ice cream.
And there goes the neighbor's car. Yeah, and so... That's what I found really cool is actually King Kong predated. And it's funny because I thought Godzilla predated him because everyone's like, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, the original kaiju. He is actually the original kaiju because he is the first giant monster to be created in Japan. And it was actually, Japan created Godzilla for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, everyone knows Godzilla is a giant reference to nuclear war. Because Godzilla came out in 1954, which was their way to demand recognition of the nuclear bombs and the horrors that it put in Japan. So that's why Godzilla was created. King Kong was created for, if everyone remembers in the cold open, I referenced Civil War.
Yeah.
And reverse colonialism. That's actually why colonization. Reverse colonization. The reason why those were brought up is because that's what King Kong was actually a reference for. King Kong was to try and shine light on the white man stealing the black people into slavery. Hence they went, because the white people went to Skull Island, saw Kong, saw profit out of him, kidnapped him, took him to a whole nother place, and then tried to use him for profit, just like slavery.
Yeah, like put him up for like show, like look at these creatures. Because they did that way back then, and it was just they put them on like as products of like for a show that they're not
slave trade, slave sales, all kinds of stuff, and so and their property, just like how they treated Kong in the movies.
Well, and it's like to not diverge too far from the subject, but like I'm gonna bring this up because it does relate. So like in BioShock Infinite, in the beginning of the game, it's also set in that same type of time frame of like slavery, and so they have like I forget what the show is, but basically they have like a show where someone is dressed up as like blackface, and that they're like dressed as like a devil or just like some sort of like horrible creature, and it's supposed to be like a horrible scene, and it gives you. To be fair to the game, it gives you the option to throw a baseball.
Oh, no, that part. So, the part that you're talking about, it's a white man and a black woman who lay together.
That's right.
And they're like, look at Jacob!
Yeah, and it's like, destroy the, like, sinners or whatever.
Yeah,
or heathens, and like, so it gives you the option to throw a baseball at them, but you can choose to actually throw it at the...
Yeah, either at them or at the guy telling you to kill him.
Actually, yeah, I think you actually are forced to throw it at the guy telling you to kill him. Either way, but
it's a fake out because you actually don't get to throw the ball whatsoever.
Yeah, because the cops get involved and whatever. Yeah. But anyways, like that's just a good example because that's how it was. It's like, oh my god, someone with more darker skin pigment is kissing someone with lighter skin pigment. Look at the freak show, and that's how it was totally made, and that's what King Kong is that metaphor for, pure and simple, and. It's just that type of mentality, and it's just...
Yep. Yeah.
It's rough, man.
It really is.
It's deep.
You know what's funny is so for this I almost did Rampage because it's considered a kaiju film.
Oh yeah. Huh?
Yeah, 3 giant monsters destroying the world.
Yeah, but I would say it's more like.
Well, I mean, it's just a fun action film.
It's totally the Rock having a testosterone run with his ego.
Yeah. Hey, I enjoyed that movie.
No, it's a good
movie.
It's a good movie, but I'm painting it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean it is. So while we're talking about significance of what these monsters represent, these giant towering monsters who are like, oh my god, why are they here? So when America actually had a huge boom of giant monster films starting in the 1950s. And it's kind of hard to really fathom that, especially with our movies nowadays when you think about it. Our only giant monster films are Godzilla and Pacific Rim, and they decided to fuck that shit up. I don't know how you mess up a giant robot fighting a giant fucking monster, but they did in the second Pacific Rim movie.
I haven't seen it.
It's alright.
I mean, I only want to watch it for just giant things fighting each other, really.
It's not worth it.
It's not?
No, the fights are terrible, man. It's upsetting. The only reason why I watched it, I was like, oh, cool, John Boyega actually has a purpose in this movie. Yeah.
I don't know.
His purpose is because he's the son of Idris Elba's character. That's it. That's the only thing. That's what makes him badass. And everyone's like, you're a natural. And he's like, because I didn't have a childhood.
Yeah, because my dad holds the key to the gates of Asgard.
Yeah, the second one, they took everything that made the first one great with the giant, literally just a 2-hour movie of giant robots fighting monsters.
Yeah.
And they went, now let's throw all the human drama in there.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Oof.
Shit is what happened.
Shit happens.
Everything that the critics complained about, what was wrong with Godzilla King of the Monsters, there's not enough drama, too much monster fighting. Yeah, they're the ones who probably, jizzed all over Pacific Rim Uprising. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that movie, but it's not what it should have been. Anyways, going back to the history, a little rant about that. So America actually had a really huge pop of these giant monster films. I'm not calling them kaiju because kaiju is mostly just a term for the Japanese monsters, and that's where we're gonna find the difference.
You like the Toho creations?
Yeah, the Toho creations, not just Toho, but. The reason why I say the Japanese creations is mostly because they have Godzilla, all Godzilla's and Godzilla's repertoire of monsters,
right? And
then you have Gamera,
Mothra,
Ultraman. Those are considered
even because I forget what it's called in Japan, but from their Power Rangers.
Yeah.
When it started over there, it was also because the giant mech Zords fighting the giant monsters,
giant kaijus.
Yeah,
and so America. We actually, our kaijus / giant monsters are actually more along the lines of creature features. And so that's how creature feature gets lobbed in with kaiju movies, is because of this. So America started doing all the giant monsters, and it was because it was all the main reason why we started doing these giant monsters is because, and especially in the 50s, if you don't know, the 1950s is actually the Cold War.
Yeah.
Sorry. And so one of the biggest scares of the Cold War was nuclear warfare.
Right. And fallout.
Yep, yeah. And nuclear fallout. And so all these giant monsters were being created to try and show the effects of what can radiation do. So such as the movie Them, 1954, and Tarantula, 1955, they started becoming more common because those are monsters created by nuclear tests. Just like Godzilla, instead we get giant ants instead of a giant fire-breathing monster. What do you want to watch more?
Definitely the ants.
Oh yeah, I want to see a giant ant eat fucking Christina Ricci nowadays. That's basically what those movies were.
Why Christina Ricci?
Because I just watched a movie with her in it.
Oh.
That's why she just popped to my head. I should have went with Anne Hathaway because that's the movie I did. She's in the movie I did, but no, I wanted to go Christina Ricci.
I was like, I like Christina Ricci.
I love Christina Ricci. I wasn't shitting on her. I'm just saying, would you rather see her fight giant ants or you want to see a giant monster blowing fire? There's a reason why Godzilla took on more than just giant ants.
She's so great in Sleepy Hollow.
I know, I love her. But anyways, So in them, ants have been mutated to enormous size by nuclear tests. The creatures embodied in monstrous form the fear and paranoia induced by nightmares of Armageddon. And so still during all this, the reason why nuclear warfare was so prevalent, because of the Cold War, another movie that came out, which a lot of people are going to know the name of, I don't know if you've ever watched it, but The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 1953, in which the dinosaur-esque monster is awoken by nuclear testing and proceeds to the destruction of cities. Yet its legacy has been somewhat overshadowed by a film released the following year that has a similar premise, yet hit a nerve with its audiences that the American creature features dare not touch. So, while all those monsters that were made in America were saying, like, this is what could happen if the Cold War escalates, you know, that's their kind of thing.
Right.
Godzilla came out in 1954, literally ripping off the theme of The Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. Giant dinosaur gets woken up by a nuclear bomb. And did it better. So,
I mean, fire breathing, can do drop kick through the air.
Yeah, pretty much. While gliding on his tail. He has to have the tail.
That is my new mode of transportation in life.
Godzilla 1954 is also about a reptilian beast who emerges from the water following nuclear testing and who also proceeds to level cities, just like the Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, which was literally just a T-Rex.
If that's the case, then we can consider the last half of the Lost World of Jurassic Park a kaiju movie.
It is.
I know.
Jurassic Park is actually... I'm going to get there. We'll get there.
Sorry.
I'll bring up Jurassic Park. Hold on.
Totally did a spoiler.
Just quick little thing that I learned about Godzilla. So the original Godzilla might not have pushed the boundaries of special effects like American movies were doing. Visually, it just about matches up with King Kong, which came some 21 years before it, and has the unavoidable guy in a rubber suit vibe about it. But that's what makes it lovely.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we love it. Yeah, but the importance of Godzilla cannot be overstated. While American monster flicks were meant to be fun and a bit ludicrous, that's why them's so cheesy and corny, you know.
Yes.
Godzilla is a sobering trudge through national mourning, pain, and guilt. The unstoppable force, a powerful allegory for nuclear weapons, brought with it the inevitability of fate and, in some interpretations, punishment. It takes a scientist's invention of a dangerous weapon to vanquish the monster. The Japanese scientist then sacrifices himself so as to ensure his own destructive tools can never be used again. It bears immediate comparisons to Japan's kamikaze pilots during the war. Except this is not fueled by national honor, but by fear and shame. Endless dissections of film and beast point to Godzilla as not only a powerful anti-nuclear statement, but as a figure plaguing the Japanese national consciousness for the country's own wartime atrocities and the subsequent devastation suffered by its citizens. So basically, Godzilla was not only created in just to say, like, hey, nuclear bombs are bad, but they're also saying, hey, we were shitheads.
Yeah.
Here's a cool monster.
Here's an easy peel to take it down. Here's an easy boat for that for you guys.
Yeah, basically. And of course, you know, Godzilla did so well. He has Godzilla's film franchise is one of the longest running in film history.
Oh God,
has one of the biggest portfolios of just all kinds of different monster
movies. Talk about an intimidating
like
catalog of films.
Yeah, no joke. What was your favorite Godzilla movie? I'm just taking a little break from the research and just talk a little bit about it.
My favorite one, and I always forget the title of it. I always get it mixed up, but I do want to say it's Godzilla 2000. I could be wrong though. It was after the one with like Matthew Broderick came out, where it did go back to Japan. Now it wasn't the one where they killed
Zilla.
It wasn't that one, but it was the one that like came out after it to kind of compete with it.
Okay, no,
where so it was like Godzilla versus like a space Godzilla.
Yeah, so that's Godzilla 2000.
Okay, that is.
And then there's Godzilla War of the Monsters, and that's the one where he fucks up the American the original American Godzilla.
Okay, yeah, so it's Godzilla 2000. Godzilla 2000.
Yeah, Space Godzilla is fucking dope, dude.
That one was tight, man. Like I was really impressed. Like it was there were cool designs. It got to what I was hoping it would get to. Like, it was just a good, memorable Godzilla movie for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Mine, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
I watched that movie at least once a month, like, for years. Like, me and my childhood best friend, Justin...
Yeah.
Me and him watched that movie to death. Like, anytime my dad was like, what movie do you guys want to watch? It was between that and The Cat in the Hat when we were little. Those are, like, the movies we watched. Like, of course I watched other ones, but that was my favorite.
No, I get it.
That's such old things. And so after, you know, going back to the research, after a bunch of, after nuclear warfare was kind of, like, settled, after the Cold War ended... America really kind of stopped making all the giant monster films because, they were fun and hokey, but also after the Cold War, that's when a lot more, you know, the 1960s and 70s came around, so there wasn't as much worldwide political outcry for America to keep making these movies, because one thing, the thing about kaijus and giant creature features is that they're not just fun. Each monster actually has a legit reason for being there. It's to try and shine light of like, hey, let's look at the giant elephant in the room, literally, and think about what it symbolizes. Like, Godzilla was all that. King Kong was about race relations and everything, well, and especially when it comes to Skull Island. Like, Kong Skull Island was, you know, basically setting up King Kong and the Godzilla monsterverse. Yeah. You know, the American monsterverse that we're having. But, like, King Kong was always about race relations. Yeah. And Godzilla is always about nuclear warfare and everything. And so, but when all that died off, and even though there's still Godzilla movies being pumped out, they started becoming more, because the first couple Godzilla movies were horror movies. Straight up terrifying. But then they started getting more and more hokier the more popular Godzilla got, you know, because all kids wanted to watch it, and you can't go take a kid to a rated R film about a giant monster stepping on your mother and then eating your dad. You know,
I mean, not with that attitude.
So it did die off. It died off for a while, except in Japan, mostly in America. The biggest reason why monster films died off and creature features died off in America was because in the 1980s, no one wanted to see fucking people in rubber suits. They wanted to see more realism, realistic stuff. And the rise of Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, the rise of all our favorite horror icons, it was the downfall of creature features in America. Yeah. Which I was like, fuck you, Michael. You're the reason why I don't have my giant Godzilla facing Pacific Rim.
You son of a bitch!
So, I mean, that was what happened in the 80s, and America ended up getting a giant boom in the 90s of creature features and everything, starting off with Jurassic Park, 1993. Oh. Yeah. So that because Jurassic Park and Jaws featuring these giant monsters. Yeah. Which, funny enough, if it wasn't for Godzilla and kaiju films, we would have never started our summer blockbuster movie mainstream stuff with Jaws. Oh yeah. That probably would have never happened. Because Steven Spielberg didn't have any inspiration to do, or his inspiration for Jaws and the giant shark and everything came from his love of movies and all these natural disaster movies. Yeah. So hence why you can't, you know, all that stuff. And so when that kind of revitalized the monster genre with Jurassic Park, Jaws, and so we had a pretty good boom of some monster movies in the 90s. I can't find any of them at the moment. But because of those, that helped start off another kick. And then for America to start getting back into the monster movies, we needed... Every monster movie, if you haven't noticed, has is an allegory for something. So Godzilla, nuclear warfare,
well, and even
Japanese pride.
Well, and Mothra even is a metaphor for taking care of the environment.
Yep, Mothra... and the new Godzilla movies is all about, look, climate change is real. Come on. We shouldn't have to have a literal giant monster stomp through the world and be like, ha ha ha, look, maybe if you took care of it, see behind me, there's life. You know. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically a new one. See that? So for America, what actually started the revitalized the kaiju and giant monster film was 9/11. terrorist attacks.
Huh.
And so once that became a thing and it calmed down after 9/11, that's when Cloverfield came out. And Cloverfield's actually the giant monster movie, the kaiju film, that restarted the boom and the love for it in America. Like, I mean, there's like nerds like us that always love Godzilla, and we still watch Godzilla even when it wasn't super mainstream and stuff.
Right.
Cloverfield's what brought kaiju films and all that stuff back to the mainstream in America. And that's all I'm saying, just in America.
No, I got you.
Because if it wasn't for the success of Cloverfield, we possibly would have never gotten Pacific Rim. We would have never gotten the reboots of Godzilla, because Cloverfield just it scratched that itch everybody needed.
Yeah.
And Cloverfield, just like the original Godzilla, because that was its biggest that was the biggest influence for it, was the original Godzilla, of making it a horror theme.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I would say, I know Cloverfield has become more of a punching bag over the years.
It has.
Especially for, like, found footage jokes. But I will make the case for it that it definitely deserves a little more love than that. Especially just because of that unique take on a more horrific approach on a giant monster kaiju film.
Exactly.
I mean, you can say what you want, negatives about the film. It still deserves that love. The third one, I will agree, is kind of like boring and just blah.
I still haven't watched it. I started watching it, but then I just kind of faded out.
Yeah, it's pretty boring, man.
Yeah.
The second one is really good.
Oh, it's so good.
Doesn't have much to do with kaijus, but it's still a really good.
It's a good movie in the universe.
Yeah.
Except the ending. I will say the fact that she went super hardcore Rambo ruined the entire movie.
I mean, we talked about that before.
That ruined it for me. It's cool. Don't get me wrong, it was cool watching it, but then afterwards I was like, no, fuck that. You don't get to go like, I don't know how to take care of this one guy, to, you know what, I know how to take care of an entire fucking alien armada. No, go fuck yourself. No. I know you're supposed to suspend some disbelief and whatnot, but that's where I was just like, this is bullshit.
No, sir, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's basically what I want. I was like, the entire time I was like, this is great. And then she fucking just somehow turns into Rambo, and I was like, no. No, not even fucking Ellen Ripley, or Ripley would be able to do that.
Well, I don't know about that. She deserves more credit.
Ripley got years to train to that. Like, after her first incident and got lucky,
that's what I'm
this
saying.
bitch just went.
That's what I'm saying. Ripley deserves more credit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, it took Ripley years to become that much of a badass.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
this bitch didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Are you talking about, like, if you replaced Ripley with her with the years of experience?
So take Ripley from the first Alien movie.
That's what I didn't understand.
That's what I mean. Ripley wouldn't have even been able to do that in the beginning, because she would have, like,
If it's like Ripley, like 3 movies in, then...
Not even second movie. Even Ripley from Aliens.
That's why I said 3.
2.
3 movies.
No, she was a badass in the second one.
I know, but, like, we can at least include Resurrection for added experience.
There's no such thing as Aliens Resurrection.
Oh, sorry. I try to make the case for Ripley. Never mind. Everyone dies.
No, I'm saying...
No, everyone's dead, Cody.
Everyone's dead.
You got what you want. Everyone's
Clover
dead.
wins. That's all I mean.
Weird Cloverfield alien thing wins.
So just
in that case, Godzilla wouldn't even win. There. Now we're all upset. Worst episode ever.
Hey, that's moving on. Just saying, is the bitch from Cloverfield Lane would not have actually won.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Just saying, Ripley, I feel like deserves more credit.
I'm giving Ripley credit. I'm saying Ripley from the very first Alien would not have been able to do that, so I don't think this chick should have been able to do it.
Anyways.
Ripley from Alien 2 and on would have been fine. She probably would have just said, no, killed John Goodman and just took over the bunker herself.
This is my bunker.
Yeah, basically. So, going back to the actual kaijus and everything that we were talking about, Of course, the newer Godzilla movies, they're not really referencing nuclear warfare as much anymore.
Right.
The new Godzilla movies, especially the 2011 one. The reason why I brought up reverse colonization in the beginning is because the Godzilla 2011 is actually one of the biggest movies talking about that. Because the narrative arc, the original Godzilla movies was all about America to Japan. So the American atrocities done on Japan with the nuclear bomb, which I know is a very touchy subject, but it was war. But that's what they were trying to get at about, like, the effects of war and all that.
Do you mean the 2014 film?
No, 2011.
Which one is the 2011 one?
Where he fought the one with Bryan Cranston.
No, dude, that's 2014.
Oh, that is 2014.
Yeah.
Why did it say 2011? Whatever. This bitch got the fucking dates wrong.
It's 2014.
Hate you. Anyway, the 2014 Godzilla film was all about reverse colonization because it's a threat from Japan coming to America.
Okay.
While the original Godzilla was a threat of America to Japan because Godzilla was created by the nuclear tests.
Okay.
Nuclear tests that America did.
Got it.
So in this one, it was reversed, and so it was just trying to talk. It was pretty much showing it's like that's one of their biggest things was like, it's not just because you believe you started all the us America do have all these nuclear weapons and whatnot, strong military and all this American pride and whatnot. The film was kind of also just showing the light of like, you can have all this and be one of the safest countries in your eyes, but you can still get attacked by something.
Got it.
And it was the whole point of this one, especially from within, because it was all nuclear warfare and stuff like that, and the monsters came to eat our nuclear weapons. So that was kind of like the whole entire thing about the Godzilla, the 2014 one, was you never know. To be wary and be good to each other and like trying to take care of each other and the earth. And that's what the whole theme of the new Godzilla movies are. So that's what I thought was kind of cool. Is like, hey, let's change this around because we're having a lot of problems right now. Don't get me wrong, I love America. We're decent.
No, I get
we're
it.
good still, but we still have a lot of problems, and that's what the new MonsterVerse is trying to tackle by showing us through these films. Yeah, they're fun, they're hokey. I mean, they're still cheesy giant monsters fighting each other. Who's not going to want to watch that? But, like, it's still trying to get the underlying meaning of, like, we need to learn to take care of ourselves and the earth.
Right. And I think we also need to still touch on, like, its influence on horror as well.
Yeah, and so the influence on horror is, like, that's what I love about the kaiju films and what their biggest meaning is. Like, all their meaning is, like, giant monster, but it's, like, where it gets the true horror and the true scare factor is, like, what they're symbolizing, and that's the point. Like, what's that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
You can be like, it's terrifying seeing this giant monster kill things, but when you put it into real life, man, I should have been nicer to the grocery clerk because they could be the next Godzilla and punch me in the face and rip my arm off, like that kind of thing.
And I would think, even on a more homage type of level, like movies like Boar and Lake Placid and Anaconda will try to make the case for here. Definitely kind of also gravitates towards that niche of giant monsters killing people. Yeah. I mean, one that I was originally going to do for my movie review but decided against it was The Blob. Both versions of The Blob, the remake and the original as well, where it's a giant alien space creature where it comes down to this small town and destroys it, like eats people. By eating, it digests people, but still, it's really horrific because, like, in one of the scenes in the movie that actually got me as a kid, is that the Blob, like, kind of spits out in a way, like decomposing corpse that's like its flesh is being ripped off by the acid from the Blob.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Now it's fucking awesome. 7-year-old Matt would disagree, but it was like, there's something about that though, where it's just that. It's this weird kind of like welcome home to horror when a kaiju film is put in that realm. Yeah, and I think what encompasses all this is horror. Like there's horror in the paranoia of nuclear fallout. There's horror in climate change. There's horror
in racism. There's horror in all kinds of this stuff.
And so it's kind of like this overlapping this overall ship where kaiju's and horror, other horror monster movies I will be specific with, are on the same ship that makes sense to be together.
Yeah.
You know, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm not, even though I would love a huge plethora of, like, horror movies that are kaiju.
Yeah.
Like, I also see their involvement of like, what's so great about them standing on their own.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's good. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of like everything that I got out of this article. I know there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it, but we could only fit so much into our time.
Well, I mean, what's your take with kaiju and horror?
So with kaiju and horror, I think I believe, especially in nowadays, with the giant monster films and everything that are coming out nowadays, I think horror-wise, it's a little bit of a letdown. Mostly because, like, yes, they are. You can consider them horror movies, even the newer Godzilla movies, because there is the tense, there is the dread and stuff. Yeah. Especially when, like, there's that moment where it's like, oh no, is Godzilla gonna win, and stuff like that. But I think the issue with the giant monsters and kaiju films for nowadays compared to back then is that back then they were really trying to make these giant monsters scary.
Yeah.
And in today's world, day and age, we're so desensitized, and it's like, and when you think about it, it's like, I'm never gonna see a giant monster fight, destroy the Empire State Building. Yeah. So they understand that, but they want, they keep the message scary. They keep the horror in the message of behind the monster, while everything else going around is just chaos.
Right.
So, like, I do appreciate that, but I think we do need a little bit more of an uprise of newer giant monster films, like actual kaiju films, nowadays, just because, like, I feel like those got through with their message a little bit better than Jason or Freddy, the whole, like, no premarital sex or you'll die.
Instead, that's like not the heaviest thing waiting on the world.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I just boned Samantha the other week. Pop that cherry, and then Godzilla steps on me. It's like, I'm not afraid that's gonna happen. So
monster smash.
Yeah, like something like that. But just with all the actual, like, worldwide issues that are going on, and that's why monster movies are made. These kaiju films were made because they were trying to touch on worldwide issues. That's why it's always a worldwide threat.
Yeah.
I think with all of these things, I feel like if we were to have a rise of kaiju films, especially make them scary, actually make them scary again, like Cloverfield did.
Yeah.
Cloverfield made it scary. That was a scary fucking movie. I think if we started getting more of those, more flux of that, especially because horror is just having such a boom, I would love to see it. And I think it'd be great, and I think it'd be able to touch on the issues that most people are overlooking or trying to ignore nowadays. Right. So.
Well, and to add on to it, I think our generation, specifically the millennial generation, is desensitized on it because we grew up with these type of creatures being more heroic than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at, Power Rangers is an obvious example, but if you look at, like, some of the cartoons we grew up with like, Pokemon and, like, Digimon and,
it desensitized us to these scary fucking monsters.
Yeah, because in those shows, the monsters get bigger. They're, like, the usual, like, evolution of them is they get bigger.
Greymon, Mecha Greymon,
like, they get huge, like, terrifying monsters, and you're like, oh my god, this is cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's written to be cool, which in reality, as rad as that would be, and I would totally be in full support of real life Digimon, it would still be terrifying to see this giant T-Rex looking monster, like, just run around town.
I know, and I think one of the biggest things, and it's going to be the hardest things, is creating that new monster. Because I think we need a new monster. Because as much as I love Godzilla, don't get me wrong, like, I always want to see a new Godzilla film. I'm so excited for all the new Godzilla films that are going to be coming out.
It's going to be action oriented.
But yeah, that's the thing, is that Godzilla has always been portrayed as this hero. Like, I went and I watched the 3-movie miniseries on Netflix, the Godzilla one, the animated one. And like you said, it made Godzilla scary again, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But, like, and the cool thing about that is they, even though they ended up, spoiler, the humans ended up siding with Godzilla at the very end, even though they hated him. Yeah, I know, but, like, it's because they were, the whole underlying theme is like, what do? Do you side with the enemy or do you side with this new enemy that you don't? When they introduced Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla in it,
yeah,
they're the main guy was like, I hate Godzilla so much and I want him to die. but I know if I side with these other two things, it's going to be worse, so I might as well keep the monster I know.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, kind of thing. So I just think there needs to be a new flux of horror-oriented kaiju films.
What we need is Freddy vs. Jason 2, and they just turn gigantic.
No, they just throw Godzilla in there, and Freddy's like, I know how to put that bitch to sleep. We're gonna fight.
They're gonna do some like weird, like over-the-top anime, like ninja running on top the tail of like. They're gonna do Naruto running on top of Godzilla's tail.
You can see Jason with his machete and Freddy with his glove in the background and this thing. But
Freddy's like, shut up, Clone Jutsu!
But that's my take. I think we need more scary versions, because like even the Godzilla King of the Monsters, they did it. A cool thing that I realized when I was researching about this was that the King of the Monsters was basically trying to homage all the original Godzilla stuff, and they didn't put too much thought into it. Like, why does King Ghidorah shoot lightning out of his face and out of his wings? He just fucking does.
It's fucking awesome. That's why.
Yeah, that's why. That's basically the whole movie. Is like, why is
Space Dragon reasons?
Yes. Why is Rodan Starscream? He just fucking is, all right?
Mountain Pterodactyl reasons.
Yeah. How come if Godzilla gets hit with a nuclear... How come Godzilla can shoot fire, but if he gets hit with a bomb straight close, he can just irradiate it?
Oh, there actually is a reason for that.
No, I know. It's because Godzilla's badass, but I know there's more other...
Yeah, no, there is like a legit anatomical reason for it,
But I'm just saying, it's like, that's basically how the movie is like, why is Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah? Because he's fucking badass.
And I would also say, to be fair, in King of the Monsters, they do explain basically what's going to happen with Godzilla with doing that. But,
I know.
But yeah, no, for everything else.
But I'm just saying, like, they basically just like, he just fucking does. Watch the movie.
Just watch the goddamn movie. Stop asking the questions.
That's basically it.
Watch Godzilla fuck up Ghidorah.
And so, to cite everything, I got my entire art, all my sightings and everything that I talked about. It was written by James Hanton for outtakemag.uk.co.uk. It was the article came out on May 16th, 2019, and the article was just called "The History of Kaiju in Movies," a history of kaiju horror movies. I believe that was the name of the article. If not, I already gave you the citation for it. And if Godzilla is not tickling your pickle, and you want to find some, and you're a huge kaiju fanatic, and you want to watch, the old school kaiju movies, giant monster Japanese films and stuff like that. Here are 10 forgotten kaiju 10 forgotten kaijus. This was made by an article by Mark Buxton. I'm just going to read you the 10 of them. Gappa, Yongary, Pulgasari, Gorosaurus, Gorgo, Manda, the Gargantuas, Varan, Frankenstein, even though I was like, Frankenstein's the monster, and Frankenstein's the human, shut the fuck up, it's a giant Frankenstein movie. Which is funny enough, because the whole entire premise of the Frankenstein horror movies is that it's the original monster, and he just grows. They take Mary Shelley's tail, and they're like, now make him bigger. And and this is actually a really sad one, but you'll never be able to find this film, Japanese King Kong. So all movies that from all film except for like a couple snippets of this movie was destroyed in the Hiroshima bombing.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's rough.
So there's only a couple snippets of it, and it's the same with, I believe, Frankenstein also. Most of the movie films and stuff like that of these two creatures were actually destroyed in the film, so you can only find snippets.
I'm surprised.
But if anybody wants to make these movies, I'd be totally down to watch Giant Frankenstein.
Yeah. Hint,
hint. Blumhouse Productions, get the fuck on it.
Guillermo del Toro, come on, this is your realm.
Come on, you made Pacific Rim. But yeah, so yeah, that's the history of kaijus. I know there's more. I could have touched on more, but that's all I can get in for today's episode.
I'm surprised no one mentioned the attack of the 50-foot tall woman.
I totally forgot about that movie too.
It's like a moniker in like film studies and everything, and it's just nobody mentions it. I mean, there's probably now I can imagine reasons why a 50-foot tall Amazonian woman in skimpily clothes I mean, it's an eye load. Like, I mean, are those fake? I bet they are.
There's that one lady who's like, those are fake tits, aren't they, Stacy? Squish.
Now I get why no one brings it up. So speaking of keeping things brought up, if you want to be caught up with everything that we're bringing up all the time, please like us and follow us on Facebook. Search us up Punk Rock Horror Podcast, or on our Twitter at officialprhp, or
on Instagram, Punk Rock Horror Podcast, hashtag PRHP Podcast.
And before we kind of leave out today, I want to touch on one quick thing real quick. So before we head out today, we kind of want to set the record straight and be transparent, because all of you listeners have been dedicated supporters of us, and you guys have continually supported us through thick and thin. And although we are arguably still a young podcast, we feel that me and Cody agree that we should be a little bit more transparent with you. So these past few months, we've definitely dipped a little bit in the quality of the show. Part of that is that we're fortunate enough to have a podcast that we're growing with at the same time, and we're seeing expand and evolve and know where we want to go in the direction with it, because we did originally start this just as, let's do a horror movie podcast with punk rock influence. And aside from that, we had a basic idea of what our format was going to be, and then it's just kind of edged out over time. And so these past few months, me and Cody both feel like we owe you listeners an apology. We've had some serious things that have happened in our personal lives that we have taken into some of the recordings recently. And truly, you guys have continued to support us, and you've continued to listen to us. You've continued to reach out to us and tell us these nice, kind things that have kept us humble. And we just want to be clear with you guys that we now know in the direction where we want to go with this. We know the format we want to keep with this. And
we're going to keep fixing up. And we also understand that, like, there are going to be times where we're going to dip in a little bit in quality, just because, keeping a thing going for as long as we can, it's always going to be hard. But we want to thank you guys for sticking it out with us. And we know these past couple months, some of the episodes have been a little rough. Yeah. Especially on my end, I will admit I've been a little rough lately.
And me and Cody sat down and talked about it, and we realized that this was becoming an issue with our tangents. Because we realized when we would go on for long tangents, it's because we were coming unprepared. And pure and simple, you listeners deserve professionalism when it comes to this. You're coming to our show for a good show. You're listening to us for good quality entertainment, and we got into this bad habit of thinking you're just going to listen to whatever we say, and that's not the case at all. And we realized that was the issue, and we're like, we need to get our shit straight. Yeah. We need to leave whatever's holding us down at the door, and we need to come in ready to just have a good time, because it's not just for our benefit, it's also for you guys, your benefits too. So pure and simple, sorry that we dropped the ball a little bit recently, but we're back on top of it. We thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. And we're always going to ask you to continue to support us, to tell your family and friends about us, and to always consider supporting us on all of our platforms.
Yeah. And we're going to keep trying our best to keep making the podcast better and better and better, so you guys get a better product.
Yeah. So thank you again for sitting with us. Thank you again for going through that rough time with us. And we know, we're aware of it. And with that being said, thank you again. We hope to see you at our show coming up on October 5th at Gorehound's Playground. We're really excited for it. We're really excited to see all of you ghouls and gals and creeps and mutants come out. It'll be me, Cody, and Aaron doing the show live. Trust me, you do not want to miss this.
Yeah, tickets on sale now. You can pre-order your tickets.
Or you can
in advance.
Yeah, you can buy them online from our website, www.punkrockhorrorpodcast.com, located under the PRHP Live section. That'll be linked in the details below. Or you can buy tickets from Gorehound's Playground themselves. Jeff will make sure you get a good seat, and we'll take care of you. So with that being said, everyone, thank you again for hanging out and talking and letting us talk about horror with you. And a podcast over.
Podcast over.
Bye.
Bye.